Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Antonia Oluwabumiudin, and I'm super excited to join you on today's episode, which is episode 14. Our last episode was episode 13, and it was very interesting. If you have not listened, please, I advise you to go on all streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon, YouTube Podcasts, all those streaming platforms, to go search for Antonia Oluwabumi Udin, the Discussion Then podcast. And then voila, you have it. You can listen to all of my podcast episodes. Episode 13, which was our last podcast episode. The topic was a deep dive into the origins of jollof rice, and you don't want to miss that, okay? Today's episode's topic is endometriosis. Endometriosis. What is endometriosis? Endometriosis is derived from the word endometrium, which is the tissue that lines the uterus. Patients with endometriosis have endometrial type tissue outside of the uterus. Endometriosis affects an estimated 2 to 10% of American women between the ages of 25 and 40. Women with endometriosis are more likely to have infertility or difficulty getting pregnant. Some of the symptoms of endometriosis may include excessive menstrual cramps or menstrual pains, abnormal or heavy menstrual flow, and sometimes pain during sex, constipation, diarrhea, and much more. Speaking on menstrual cramps, I use this opportunity or medium to appeal to Nigerian mothers, West African mothers, African mothers, or women across the globe to pay more attention to themselves and to their daughters, especially if you have any female around you, whether your wife, your girlfriend, your fiancée, your sister, your daughter, who suffers from severe menstrual pain or severe bleeding, severe menstrual flow. It's not normal. I grew up to think that having menstrual cramps is normal. I didn't know, even though my mother was a histopathologist, she was a medical laboratory scientist. She said she suffered from menstrual pain and she didn't know better. Her mother made her think or made her believe that menstrual pains are normal. And the same thing, she made me realize menstrual pains were normal because she said it's hereditary. She suffered it, so I have it, okay. And then all she would do every month is give me paracetamol or Panadol, as we use in Nigeria. And I suffered growing up. I never looked forward to having periods growing up. It got worse when I got to university. Like literally everybody in my hostel my university hostel knew when I had periods because it was not fun. I would cry. I would be rolling on the floor. I can't even go for lectures. It was that bad. I would be rolling. I would be crying. I would faint. Like I would literally pass out. For the 5 days I was on my periods, I would be fainting. Like, shibushere, dakushere. It wasn't fun at all for me. Periods were not fun. And then plus I would bleed so much. At that time, I wasn't using tampons. We were only using always sanitary pads, which were not helpful for me, the kind of flow I had. Because we didn't really have options. Like we didn't have options of Super Plus and all that stuff at that time. Pad is pad, especially what you can afford. There was no time I had periods that I would not get stained. I would not stain the mattresses. All my mattresses were literally condemned before they were supposed to be condemned because of heavy bleeding. Now, fast forward to me being in Canada now. I got to, to have a gynecologist that told me that wasn't normal. and he suggested I was to be placed immediately on contraceptives. And I was like, hold on, why do I need to be placed on contraceptives? Contraceptives are supposed to be for prevention of pregnancy, as I thought it was. And he said, correct. Contraceptives are supposed to be used for pregnancy prevention, but it's also used by gynecologists to control severe menstrual pain and bleeding. So this is something African mothers should pay attention to. In Africa, we should pay attention to this, and the doctors in Africa, especially the gynecologists in Africa, there should be education, sanitation, sensitization about severe bleeding and severe menstrual cramps and overall endometriosis in general, because a lot of women suffer from endometriosis, a lot of women suffer from severe bleeding, severe menstrual cramps, and they've made us believe that it is normal. Having periods come hand in hand with menstrual pain. It's abnormal. I'm telling you today, it is abnormal. So I was placed on contraceptives, and unfortunately, my body rejected it, because I by the time I'm supposed to have the periods, when I'm taking the sugar tablets, the periods will never stop. So if I'm supposed to stop period, like my period is supposed to stop on the 5th day, after 5 days, my period normally would not stop. So I would keep bleeding even after 5 days, until I had to call my gynecologist, who decided to immediately send me a prescription of tranexamic acid, 500 milligram. And ever since then, I have been placed on tranexamic acid, 500 milligram, 3 tablets, 3 times daily, to help with my severe bleeding. It doesn't help with the menstrual pain. What tranexamic acid does is to help reduce your bleeding. It helps with bleeding, full stop. It doesn't help with cramps. So, fast forward. My doctor at that time, or my gynecologist at that time, took me off the contraceptives, right? Because he saw how much blood I lost. I think I bleeded for like 2 weeks before I told him, and then before I got, disconnected from contraceptives. So he told me I wasn't supposed to be taking contraceptives anymore to avoid bleeding. Now, fast forward to today, I told my pharmacy that I still suffered from severe bleeding, and then this new pharmacy decided to place me on contraceptive, and she told me she would not place me on the previous contraceptive that made me to bleed, right? And then she gave me another brand, and guess what? The same thing happened. This happened recently this year, and then I bled so much this year on the new contraceptive that I had to go to the emergency. I had to call Uber to take me to the emergency, and I went to the emergency with the contraceptive I was taking, and I told them how I have been bleeding for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, even with the tranexamic acid. I think I took, which didn't help. Immediately, I was admitted after several hours, of course, waiting at the emergency. I saw a doctor. They ran tests on me, and immediately they admitted me. I was at the hospital for like 2 days or 3 days, and several checks were run. I told them I know I have fibroids. I was diagnosed with fibroids and cysts of the ovaries 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And guess what? With the radiology scan, they couldn't see much. They knew they saw abnormalities, but they couldn't see much because I was still bleeding. But they placed me with a new gynecologist. And fast forward to today, sometime in June, after visiting the emergency, like twice after that first time I went to the emergency for severe bleeding, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. Accidentally diagnosed with, well, I will call it accidental, because the plan was to go for surgery to remove my fibroids, right? But the doctor said before we do the surgery to remove the fibroids, she needed to do a hysteroscopy, which means that she would put in cameras through my uterus. Is a invasive is a procedure. It's a procedure that is painful, and I was placed on. Yeah, I was high. I was placed on medical highness. Yeah, it was painful, but I was placed on medical highness. I was on cloud nine throughout the procedure, and unfortunately, the surgery couldn't happen after that. Hysteroscopy, because she realized I had endometriosis. The fibroids were located in a places she was not expecting to find them. The fibroids were located at abnormal places at the back, and she was like, she couldn't do that surgery that day. So she said she will have to schedule me for another time. And I didn't know what endometriosis was. When she told me, I was like, what does that mean? She had to explain to me what endometriosis was. She told me that my uterus is lined with endometrial tissue, and the lining is called the endometrium, and my body grows a new endometrium with each menstrual cycle to prepare for a fertilized egg, and endometriosis is that condition in which the endometrial tissue grows outside of the uterus, and that was where my fibroids were. Crazy. Aibo. However, she placed me on a medication. Immediately, she placed me on a medication, which I started to take. It's called Aspen Diagnosed. 2 milligrams. She told me I had to start taking it, 1 tablet every day, and I was not allowed to stop taking it. Aspen Diagnosed. I wasn't allowed to stop. So I took Aspen Diagnosed. Unfortunately, my body rejected it. Period time came. I was bleeding like I had lost a baby. I wasn't pregnant. I bled worse than, the bleeding was worse than when I took contraceptives. I was bleeding like something, I don't know how to explain it, but it was abnormal, severely abnormal. I use my tampon, I use the Super Plus, or I use the Ultra. And I would also use the maximum size of pads together. And I change in 6 times a day using Ultra Plus and pad maximum, and I still have to change 6 times a day. And with that, I was still bleeding. I would sit down and the whole chair would be filled with blood. I'm not even capping. So eventually, I realized that even with the medication I take, the tranexamic acid, it would help. And then the moment I take the endometriosis tablets, I realized that the bleeding would start again. So I figured it out that I had to stop taking the endometriosis tablet, which I did, and then I realized that the bleeding stopped. I reached out to the pharmacy for them to reach out to my gynecologist. Unfortunately, I didn't hear from her, so I had to stop taking the tablets. And the moment I stopped taking the endometriosis tablets, the Aspen tablet, I realized that the bleeding eventually stopped without me going to the emergency. But of course, I had to go report to the gynecologist. I had to go to the hospital. I had to try to see the gynecologist. Unfortunately, I couldn't see her, but I left that message to her. And then at the moment, my next appointment is for us to try the next step, another alternative of treatment, another treatment alternative. However, the focus of today's podcast is not to give you guys tea about my personal life, but to educate women who might not be diagnosed of endometriosis but suffer severe bleeding and severe menstrual pain and severe menstrual flow, to please go to the hospital to get checked. It's not normal if your child bleeds severely during periods and cries for menstrual pain. Menstrual pain is not normal. Please go to the hospital, report this to your doctor, and let them get you checked. It probably is endometriosis. Okay, guys, so it's not a fun situation. Few days before my periods, I begin to feel constipated. I begin to feel bloating in my stomach. I begin to suffer from menstrual pain even before the period comes 2-3 days, I begin to get, it messes up with your mood. It messes up with your mood. You know, it's not fun at all. Periods are hell. Periods are hell. It's not fun at all. Like, my lower back aches badly during periods. I bleed so much, you know. I cry so much because of the pain. The pain is unbearable. I have to take pain medication before my periods even starts. During my periods, Lord have mercy. Anyone suffering from endometriosis, anyone that suffers from menstrual cramps, my heart goes out to you. I mean, we're in this together, and I can tell you, it's not fun at all. It's not fun. If you have a wife or girlfriend that suffers from severe menstrual pain and she doesn't know what it is, you need to encourage her to go get checked and just give her all the love and care you can possibly provide. So, yes, endometriosis causes infertility, you know. I have not tried to have a child yet. You know, I've never tried to have a child. So, when I get to that bridge, I definitely will cross it with, my partner. You know, at the moment, I do not have, a partner who, you know, I do not have a partner yet, and I'm not trying for a child, but I have been told by my gynecologist that endometriosis causes infertility, and there could be challenges when I would want to have a child, and also age factor. But yeah, so guys, at this juncture, I just want to say menstrual pains are not fun and should not be overlooked. And endometriosis affects hundreds of thousands of women every year. Cramps are never pleasant. Mothers, menstrual pain ò ń ṣe normal thing fún ọmọ obìnrin o. Mama, les dollars, c'est pas normal pour la fille. C'est pas normal. It's not normal when your daughters have menstrual pains or suffer from cramps during periods. It's not normal. Take them to the hospital. Go get them checked, you know, so that they can start treatment for whatever they decipher or for whatever they are being diagnosed of. And yeah. Discover which symptoms may indicate endometriosis. The doctors, your gynecologist, would definitely be able to discover the symptoms. So, like I said, the symptoms are painful menstrual cramps that go into the abdomen, stomach, or lower back. Of course, like I said, I suffer from that. I suffer from painful menstrual cramps. I suffer from severe heavy flow. Heavy flow. I have regular periods, but heavy flow. I have diarrhea during periods. I don't suffer from constipation during periods. I suffer from diarrhea during periods. Of course, I have my bloated stomach. Few days to my periods. Right now, I think in my younger days, I used to have very flat, sexy, flat stomach, like abs with my abs showing. But right now, it's not the same. I do not have that 6-pack flat stomach anymore. No thanks to endometriosis. You know, I can't really wear my crop tops anymore because of my bloated stomach that I have, you know. So yeah, 6-packs going down the drains. And then you get tired, you get low energy, you get fatigue, you know, for sure. I do have that. You get mood swings, you get, you know, your mood is a mess. Trust me, you get that mood swings. Your hormones are all over the place. All over. And when I say all over, I mean all over. Your emotions are all over the place. You get angry, you get sad, you get emotional for no reason. You know what I'm saying? You get pain during urination or bowel movements during menstrual periods. Yeah, you get pain during urination, and when you want to poop, you get pain too. But guess what? Each person's experience with endometriosis is different. Women with endometriosis may have some of these symptoms. So because I listed out some symptoms, it doesn't mean you have to have everything. And guess what? Some women with endometriosis do not even suffer any symptom at all, but yet they have endometriosis. So all of these symptoms or none of the symptoms, it just depends on who, it varies, Having severe pain or other symptoms is not necessarily a sign of more severe endometriosis. So our bodies differ and our symptoms differ. I hope with this few points of mine, I've been able to convince you and not to confuse you that menstrual pains are not normal for your girl child. Severe periods, heavy flow is not normal. Please go get checked. Okay, guys, thank you for listening to me. Thank you for listening to all of my episodes on the Discussion Then podcast. Please subscribe to my podcast. Please give it a thumbs up. You can listen to my podcast episode on Spotify, on Amazon Podcast, on Deezer, on Podchaser, on YouTube Podcast. I am everywhere, guys. I am everywhere. Global. We global, baby. Go listen to all of my episodes, please. I beg you. And then again, guys, before I forget, Aibo, I am an author. I have 2 published books, guys. 2 published books, guys. Listen, I am excited. The first my first published book is called Omobere, The Family Feud, and that's for adults. It talks about my life in the dedication section of the book, and the main section of the book is a fiction. You need to check it out. You need to go buy a copy. If you love me, if you support me, please go buy my books on Amazon. Okay, guys? You can have Omobere, The Family Feud in hard book cover. You can have it in ebook format. You can have it in paperback book format. Also, my second book, which is for children, is titled Shegbe. Shegbe is a folklore story, a literature piece, a folklore story, which I dedicated to children or orphans around the world, fatherless, motherless, adopted children around the world, and you guys have a special place in my heart. My dad passed away when I was barely 16. I was 15 plus when my father died. And my brother was 11 years old when my father died. And my youngest sibling was just 7 when my father died. So I do understand what it feels like to not have a parent. Okay, guys? And I want you to know that you also have or will have a special place in the heart of God, because it says that He is the father of the fatherless, is the father of the orphan, and is the husband of the widow. And I believe in all religions across the globe, it's been, emphasized that widows, orphans, fatherless, abandoned children have special places in God's heart. So I want you to know that I love you if you are adopted, if you are abandoned, if you are fatherless, if you are orphan, if you are orphan, if you are motherless. I love you. I love you, and I pray for you to find love, for your heart to be filled with love, and for you to receive all the love and care you can ever wish for in your lives. And at this point, yes, please go listen, go buy my books, please. You would love it. And I look forward to, getting your feedbacks, which would definitely help me to improve on my third book, which is in process as I speak. Yes. Our sponsor for today's episode is Bumi's Kitchen. Bumi's Kitchen is an online virtual restaurant. Online restaurant. They exist on website, online e-commerce.